Test, test. Test, test. Hello, everybody. Okay. Hello, Penny. Let me be right back. Hey, Robin. So you guys know today we are starting the Constitution all over again. See, we got a robust 8 people here. Woo! We're waiting on Doug. He might be a little bit late today. Remind me where you guys are in the country. Kentucky. North Kentucky, that's borders Ohio, right? Like, your nearest is the nearest major city, like would be like Cincinnati. Modesto. Massachusetts, nice. Ohio, Maryland. We're at in Maryland, Carmen. I knew what you meant, Kami. Or Kami, Penny. So you're out there more with the Western Massachusetts. Is Massachusetts as bad as they say? Because I'm in California, and um, I will never believe that California is blue. I believe that there's a lot of people who blue-minded people who live here, but California is not as blue as the media wants you to believe. Oh, Lisa, I definitely am going to do something about the thing with climate change. That was that interested me as well. It's going to be fun, Michelle. The more I've gone through the Constitution with Doug, the more I learn. Okay. You forgive me, Carmen. Um, I'm not that familiar with Maryland in terms of the counties. I know that where Baltimore is, kind of the Beltway. That's it's very, very, very blue, or at least they want you to think it's blue. But a buddy of mine who grew up in Maryland, and he said down south on the peninsula and on the west side, um, Panhandle, I guess is what it's called. That's I say it's pretty conservative. It's like Virginia country in Virginia, in the outside of Arlington and uh, uh, Richmond. It's pretty red. Little Rock, Michelle. Oh, I forgot where Little Rock, California was. I think that's up north, isn't it? I'm gonna look it up. Oh, I didn't know Little Rock is down south. It's out of Palmdale. Okay, that makes sense, Carmen. Mm. hopefully we'll get this thing cleaned up. I don't know. I don't know how you all feel in terms of how things are playing out. I know that I red pilled in 2000. I used to say 2003, but I think it's actually closer to 2002. Yeah, when I looked it up, Michelle, and I saw I was on the 138, I'm like, oh, I've gone through that many times, and then it dawned on me that I've been through Little Rock. If you blink, you miss it on 138. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying in terms of red pilled, I red pilled in 2002, when I figured out that everything was not as it seems, and so for some of you guys that didn't red pill until the election or until something that happened with with a Trump presidency, or because of Team 17 or whatever it was that kind of that woke you up, everybody, who knows what that was, but I've been waiting a long time to get this fixed, longer than most. So I understand the impatience, and I guess I just say that to impress upon you guys that it's going to happen. It's everything's going to happen. We're going to win. I can't say that we will all get through this. Some of us may not survive. I just don't know. It's war, and in a wartime situation, it's you know what? I got to make sure that I sent the invitation. Hold on as I interrupt myself mid-sentence. I didn't. Forgot to send him the invite. Oh, 2006. Yeah. What year did you guys red pill? Whereabouts, Constance? I'm also in SoCal. I'm out in a little town called Beaumont. I don't know if you know where that is, on the outer edge of the Inland Empire, about halfway between Riverside and Palm Springs. There we go. Now Doug is here. There you are.
Yeah, well, I got here at 5 till, and I was ready to roll right at the top of the hour, and then I'm like, "Where's the link?"
I'm sorry, that was my bad.
It happens.
It's funny because I actually was getting ready to send you the link when you called me.
Oh, and I distracted you.
And you distracted me, and I never got the link set off. And I'm like, did he get the link? Where is he?
It's all my fault.
It is your fault. I'm going to blame you. I'm going to blame you. It's easier that way. It's easier than taking personal responsibility. Who likes that?
Oh, wait a second. No. You're not becoming a far left Democrat.
That's nothing to do with far left.
Well, yeah, if you don't take responsibility for your actions, it's exactly what you are.
Laziness.
See, you've got the hat going. I got the shirt going. You can't see it, so let me bring it down. See?
Very nice.
Yeah.
Did you see my background?
Yeah. It's in motion too.
It's in motion. Cool, man.
Got the declaration going. It's in motion. I like that. That's cool.
Thought I was like, thought I'd mix it up a little bit,
Uh,
spark, freshen
something
up the
something you
freshen up the
created or a
class.
gift that you found?
It's actually I downloaded it on from a place where I get like clip art and stuff. I mean, it wasn't free, but it wasn't expensive either.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I think so. There's a few others I was going to play with, but this is the one. This is what I'm going with for this class because it's all about the Constitution.
Well, it's introduction to the Constitution, and the Declaration plays a huge part in that. So your timing is perfect.
Exactly. So we are starting all over.
Yeah. So, audience, I don't see the chat, but I take it that your time with Alan worked out well.
Yes. They want me to get him back to talk about climate change.
He's a really good researcher.
Yeah, I know.
He's one of the better researchers I know. Between him, you, and Brady, I'm surrounded by some really good research people. So if ever I explode, you know who my research team is, right? Ron, Brady, and Alan.
It's funny because when I talk to Brady more than I talk to you now. I talk to Brady almost every day.
My friend, he talks to me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I don't.
Brady's a good guy.
I don't say this to be insulting to anybody, but man, there's so few people that I can talk to that can, and Brady and I disagree. So, but
on a number of things,
on a number of different things, and that's okay. He's not as adventurous. He's not as willing to go out on a limb as much as I am. Like, I'm more willing to go on a limb and saying, even though we don't have like solid core evidence, like I can go out there and I can say, I can see how this is connected, even though the connection might seem a little flimsy. Brady's the guy that says, well, I need 2 verified sources to make sure that it's connected.
And I need more verified sources than that myself.
But you understand what I'm saying. I'm more willing to make
and
connections.
The things that you and Brady don't see eye to eye on are pretty much the same things that you and I don't see eye to eye on. Brady is almost 100%, kind of where I'm at on stuff. But here's the thing. And I actually was talking to my class this morning. So classes is for you too, in Fallbrook about this morning. That's good. I want there to be debate. I want there to be disagreement. Debate is what creates liberty.
Mm-hmm.
We have a difference of opinion. We're having a political discourse. That's a good thing. And I remember one time I was having political discourse with somebody on a particular subject and a civil discourse. And an individual third person steps in and he kind of gets upset at me and says, hey, you're not going to change his mind. What the hell, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to change his mind. We're having a discussion. We're exchanging information.
Mm-hmm.
I may not change a single part of his mind. He may not, but at least we know what the other side thinks. But also, by him listening to what I got to say, me listening to what he has to say, there might be a nugget in there where I go, I hadn't thought of that. And so these discussions are very important. We've got to have them because
the thing that you're missing.
How are you going to recognize what you don't see if you don't see it?
Doug, the thing that you're missing there, though, is that even though you guys aren't going to agree, there are people around you that are listening in.
Also, yeah, there's that too. Yeah.
And absolutely. Then so even though you may not change his mind, you may influence somebody to think think about something differently who's listening into the conversation. So
right. Oh yeah, exactly. I'm 100% with you. That's the reason why the First Amendment's free speech clause is so important. And it's like once again, I was telling the classes this morning, is it doesn't say freedom of the right speech.
Right.
It's the freedom of speech. You may be wrong, maybe right, maybe in between. It doesn't matter. You have freedom to say it, and that's a good thing. I will never advocate to silence my opposition, even though I disagree with everything they say.
Exactly. I'm right there with you. And as much as I want to silence people, I'm like, no, you cannot silence them. If they're going to spit out the most ugly, vile, retarded words, you let them do it, because number one, they're gonna make an ass out of themselves, and number two, you have to let them win or lose based on the merits of their argument.
Well, there's some people, and what they do though is they'll shout over you, and you can't get a word in edgewise, and so they won't hear the argument. And
well, that's a rules for radicals.
There.
That's right. I have a question. Actually, Conservative Cowboy has a question, and I'm guessing that this is, well, I'll let it speak for itself. And it's a good question. Can states rescind ratification of an amendment? Now, he's specifically quoting the 16th and 17th Amendments. Can a state rescind their ratification of an amendment after it's been ratified?
This has been a long-going debate between a constitutionalist friend of mine and I, G.R. Mobley. G.R. Mobley believes the states can rescind it, their votes. While I do believe states can rescind their ratification vote, I don't believe that if enough states rescind that it can reverse the amendment that way. My friend Mobley does. Now, that said, there is a precedent. There was a time, I can't remember the amendment now. There's one amendment where a state rescinded their ratification vote and it was accepted as a rescinded vote. It didn't change the outcome. There was plenty of votes for the ratification, but a particular state rescinded the vote. And for that matter, also for something like Convention of States, there's this idea of Article 5 convention out there, and that it takes 2/3 of the states to, apply their application to vote to have one. In history, 49 states have said, yeah, let's have the convention. Well, who's that one state? It doesn't. Oklahoma, but they rescinded their vote and that was accepted. So rescinding a vote, be it for a convention to propose or for ratification, as Conservative Cowboy is suggesting, is definitely a debate item that's discussed a lot. And about half the constitutionalists I know say yes. I say yes, but
no,
I don't believe that the rescinding can unratify an amendment. I believe to unratify an amendment, it takes another amendment to repeal it.
Okay, so what if now I know Conservative Cowboy and I are going to agree on this, and you and I will probably agree on this as well. What if those amendments weren't ever really ratified, and that comes to light?
Well, originally they weren't. Both of them. Originally they weren't. So at the time they were deemed ratified. They weren't because
Land or not said, oh, they're ratified.
Because but they were later ratified because then other states gave their votes. See what I'm saying?
How many? But okay, so
ultimately they were, even when they weren't originally.
But here's my question: were they really, or were they just pressured to be ratified?
My argument is that it's not a matter of ratification. They're both illegally proposed in the first place.
Okay.
So they should have never even they should have never even been up for ratification because they were illegally proposed in the first place.
Okay. Again, like I said, I know we're going to agree on that.
Yeah. And you've heard me talk about that before.
And you've heard me talk about it, but we're not here to talk. We're not here to talk for ourselves.
Conservative Cowboy. That's a great question. And like I said, my friend G.R. Mobley and I have had a lot of discussion about that. And he believes that 17th Amendment can be undone through rescinding the ratification votes. I believe it just takes another amendment to repeal it. While a state can rescind their vote, I don't think that a ratification can be undone. I'm a firm believer it still needs to be repealed. That's just the proper process. And it does away with willy-nilly changes. Because if you can be rescinding and then adding rescinding, I mean, good Lord, what could happen? So I just think it's a dangerous path. Now, from a Constitution standpoint, there's no language in the Constitution. There's no language in the correspondence by the founders to support either argument. So really what it comes down to is our interpretation on what we think it should be. There really is no language anywhere that says, oh, it can be or can't be. I wanted to make sure I got that out there. And so ultimately, if that's the case and there's no language, and I hate to say this because of how I feel about it, then 10th Amendment, then the states could, because there's no language saying they can't. So from that point of view, I would say yes. But like I said, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's a good precedent to set.
Okay. Well, that was it. That was the only question that we had.
That's a very good question.
Great question to get the new session started off. Right.
Yeah. Hey, let's roll, man. Hey, and I want to say hi to Stephanie. Stephanie in Michigan. I was telling you a little bit about this. Yeah, she didn't want to buy my books from Amazon, so we did it. Where she sent me the money, I sent her the books, and then her dog decided to have her delivery for lunch. So just sent off her new books yesterday. Her next set, same books, different ones. But yeah, so I just want to give a shout out to her. I actually gave her a call the other day because she emailed me. I emailed her back, and the email got blocked because I'm dangerous.
Well, yeah.
And I get people who receive emails from me get these warning labels all the time about how dangerous I am.
Because Constitution.
Yeah. Also, my nonprofit's starting to get some attention from certain agencies. We know that our good friends that like to look like Crockett and Tubbs and operate in an organization that has 3 letters that let's see, Fanboy Incorporated. No, well, those letters. Actually attended one of my classes one time, so I do get attention.
Are you serious?
Yeah, the one right there in Beaumont.
Are you serious?
Yes.
When?
This was about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, something like that. I mean,
No.
They didn't say it, but we knew. They never been back. It was obvious. One of them I saw was carrying. They had the typical what you expect them to wear about that age. Came in at different times, but sat together at the same booth.
Wow.
And so they leave, and I'm going to say just first names. Ron don't know who I'm talking about. So Joe and Dennis says, "Dude, you do know that the FBI man was here." I'm like, yeah. I figured that's what they were.
Right, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I did not know that story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
That's
so
here in town.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right up the road from you. So I am getting attention, and my Google. I used to get between 2,500 and 3,000 hits a day on my blog, and most of those hits came from Google. Once Google decided they didn't want to put me on the list anymore, that they basically, in a sense, are censoring me, I dropped to about 400 hits a day. I've now worked it back up to about 800 to 1,000 with my own efforts, but I don't get any help from Google anymore. Yeah. So yeah, no, this stuff that's going on where they're talking about the censoring and the government and all that, I know for a fact it's real because it's been happening to me. Yeah. So hey, that's a part of the game. You play the game, and it's unfortunate that that's the way they play it, but we've got our own game to play. We do what we've got to do. I've been alerted now by 3 other people since I've talked to you that if I'm going to build my AR, I better get all the parts before January.
Really? Why?
Well, because California is trying to do what they can to quote unquote get rid of ghost guns, and it's believed that by January getting the parts will be pretty much impossible in California.
Yeah, there's always ways around that, but whatever.
Well, thing is I'm actually technically not a Californian anymore.
Exactly.
But my registration, my license is a different state, and I now conduct business quite a bit in that state, and ultimately I am in the process of hopefully moving there soon. And when I say soon, my wife said October 2 years ago, so you don't know. But nice thing about online is I don't go anywhere online. I just don't do the local classes anymore.
Right. So Devil Dog is, I wonder what he was.
Said one sailor to another.
Yeah. Just busting your
hey, Devil Dog, you need a ride? No, anyway,
go ahead. just busting your chops there, Devil Dog. It's okay. We love you guys. We love taking you to the fight. So he says in Canada, a province is separating.
That's what I've heard.
After they make a constitution, can they become a state? Article 4, Section 3.
Yes, they could apply as a state to the United States. Yes. Have to be approved by Congress. And they don't have to have the Constitution ahead of time. They can apply before that.
Which province is it? Is it
province? Well, there's 2
Manitoba
provinces.
or Alberta?
One of them is the one that always wants to, Quebec. But
well, no, but
there's another one too, and I want to say, I'm trying to remember now. I remember reading somewhere. There's another one now that's talking about it too. not, yeah, I can't remember. I want to say New Brunswick. Was it?
I'm gonna look
There's
this
one of
up.
them that's talking about it.
I haven't
remember
heard.
reading
I
something.
haven't
I don't
heard
remember which
this.
Yeah. Oh, you're looking for it?
Yeah.
Well, Quebec has talked about it ever since I've been alive. That's because they speak French. Brunswick is like kind of a cross between the French and the English, and
Oh,
a bunch of Germans. And I know they've talked about it in the past of separating, but because I understand too is Canada's a little different than us. They are a Commonwealth, also the British Commonwealth. So they're not just separating from Canada; they're trying to separate from the British Commonwealth. And there's interesting things that go on there too.
I think it's going to be Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. Now that I had not heard. Now, that doesn't sound familiar.
It says he wants to be a province. Well, maybe not. Devil Dog, who is it? Do you know? Because I'm curious about this. Within a nation, it's New Brunswick. Are you sure New Brunswick?
Yeah, well, New Brunswick is one I've heard lately too.
I hadn't heard that one.
Well, you know where New Brunswick is, right?
I do.
It's right
on
up
the East
against
Coast.
Maine.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, I hadn't heard New Brunswick wanted to do it because I thought New Brunswick was pretty left.
Well, pretty much.
Yeah. But
anything
anyway,
with cities in it is.
Yeah. Well, anyway, all right, let's get on track here because we only have now 40 minutes left.
What's wrong with you guys? Jeez,
Hey.
It's all your fault, not mine.
My fault. All right, so today is the first session of class.
And we're not going to break into the Constitution really today. This is more of an introduction. Let's get the foundational groundwork done, and then next week we'll get into the preamble and things like that. But for those of you who you're new to this, buckle up and enjoy. Those of you who've gone through it before, go through it again. You want to hear the stuff over and over, help you learn. And I want to, before we get started, answer the most common question: why should I learn this? Well, do you know what you're fighting for? Do you understand why you're fighting? Do you understand what you would do once we achieve whatever it is we're trying to achieve? And we turn things around, we get a hold of government, then what do we do? What do we instill? We need to know this stuff. I believe that there's two foundational basic things that must happen before any revolution or restoration can take place. One, the people must be informed, and two, they must have spiritual faith. Both must be in play. If we're not a moral people, a virtuous people, a godly people, and we're not informed, it goes nowhere. And so we could talk about civil war and all this other stuff all we want, but if those two things aren't in place, it won't matter. And I'm a firm believer, especially in education, of being properly informed. And that's why I do these classes. So that's number one, why learn the Constitution. Number two, because it is important for anybody in any system know where they came from. Mm-hmm. This is where our system of liberty came from. And this is what it means. When you get into these political discussions, do you really know what you're talking about? When you say something is constitutional or not constitutional, I have this constitutional right, I don't. Do you know what you really mean? And so it also becomes a powerful weapon in political debate. And when I say weapon, from a Christian standpoint, God didn't give us a gun. He gave us a sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. So language, information, that's your offensive weapon in any battle, whatever it may be. So if you don't have the truth, if you don't know the truth, you can't go on offense. So this is all important. Now, to get back to the beginning, so we've heard the stories, right? We just passed Thanksgiving. So we know the stories about how there was tyranny going on in Great Britain, especially religious tyranny. If you weren't a member of the Church of England, if you weren't a regular attendee of the services, you had problems. You couldn't hold office. You might be fined. You might be jailed, so on and so forth. And so under what was going on, and with the discovery of the New World and the Spanish, what they've been doing, English colonists began to settle in the New World. Now, originally, the Pilgrims, for example, they didn't just come straight here. They actually went to Holland first to try to get away. They were separatists. They were trying to separate themselves, but it wasn't working out in Amsterdam. So they then headed to Plymouth Rock, ultimately is where they landed, Massachusetts Bay Colony, just north of it, actually, but of the colony. But so all of that's going on. There's upheaval going on. And so the very beginning of our whole America began with trying to get away from Europe. Think about that for a second. We want to get away from Europe, and we want to be as unlike Europe as possible. And that theme carries through our entire colonial period, our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution of the United States, our rejection and eventually ending of the central banks, the Bank of the United States, the Second Bank. We wanted to be as disconnected from Europe as possible.
It's funny that you say that. I don't mean to derail you, but this is something that I never really was enamored by, the whole royal thing, like how Americans are just so like caught up into everything royal. To me, yep. I'm like, whenever I see something in the king and the queen, I'm like, man, I don't care. Whatever. I don't care. To me, that's almost like my patriotic duty to say, forget the queen, or yeah. Anyway, just wanted to make that. Just wanted to make that statement.
And it's a good statement, because the whole purpose, the whole point of this here is that there is no royalty. There is no nobility, or at least there's not supposed to be. There kind of is, but may not be official. But there isn't supposed to be. We're not supposed to have anybody that's of privilege in this country. There's not supposed to be a privileged class. There's not supposed to be a ruling class. There's not supposed to be a nobility class. When Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence that all men are created equal, what he meant by that was God didn't create us and say, okay, Ron, I'm going to give you a few more natural rights than Doug, because, I just think you should have more. No. Ron got the same natural rights I got. Obama got the same natural rights. The king got the same natural rights. We're all created equal. We are all given the same amount of natural rights. God didn't discriminate. We all received the equal number of rights, or whatever it is. Now, and the thing is, your natural rights are like the grains of sand on the beach. They're infinite. It goes on and on and on. When we think about our rights, I think we misunderstand what's meant. When I get to the Bill of Rights, I get more into it. So we have this system that we're trying to be as unlike Europe as possible. Europe, because in Europe, they had something going on that the Americans really didn't like. Being a subject.
Mm-hmm.
You're a subject to the king. You live in the king's realm. You can't own property. It's the king's realm. You don't have your own thoughts about that, or you can't make your own individual decision, because you're a subject. You're subject to what the king wants to happen. Mm-hmm. So the Americans, they weren't really called Americans per se. I mean, they were. The word Americans first emerged during the French and Indian War, but it wasn't a commonly used term yet. But I'm going to use it just so we know what we're talking about. So the Americans, these English colonists, these new countrymen of the United States, once we became a country, said, hey, we don't want to be subjects. We don't want a system where there's privilege and then there's subjects under those privileged. We don't want aristocracy. We don't want a system where your success or your failures is based on your lineage. Each person is their own individual. Each person is responsible for their own crimes or their own successes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what America is supposed to be about. And that's the reason why the idea of the royalty and the TV and all that bothers you, because that's what's been instilled in you. So we've got this system that proclaims that. But if we're not subjects, then what are we? And I've talked about this before in the class. And for those of you new, this will be kind of a treat. So if we're not subjects, then we are citizens. And I know there's some movements out there that try to disparage the term citizen, like it means employee or something. And I'm going to say that that's not necessarily where I want us to go on that. Citizen's a very good word. It's a very important word because it means you're not a subject. The term citizen goes way back in history. The people in the Greek city-states were citizens. In the Roman Republic, they were citizens. They weren't subjects, they were citizens. So what's the difference between a subject and a citizen? A subject is somebody who serves the monarchy. They serve the nobility. A citizen, if you're a citizen, you don't serve the government serves you. That's the difference between subject and citizen. And really, in history, it comes down to you're one of the two. Slave, of course, in this extreme version of subject.
Right.
But slavery is still going to fall under that same basic box. It's really one of two. Either you're a subject or you're a citizen, if you're not a ruling class person, that is. Either because if you're a subject, that means then it's one of two things. Either you're a ruler or you're a subject. There's no in between. But when there's a citizen, you might be a leader in government. You might be a leader in business. You might be middle class. You might be an innovator. There's all kinds of things that open up when you're a citizen. Because what you are is your choice. What you do with what God has given you is up to you. You're not subject to a king. A king's not going to say, you know what? You're the farmer's son. You're going to be a farmer for the rest of your life. And you're going to till my land because it's the king's realm. No. You decide. And you own that land if you decide to do that. If you decide not to do that, then you'll do what you do. That's the difference between subject and citizen. And that's what the America and the U.S. Constitution is all about, or a large part of what it's all about.
Well, allow me to expand on that a little bit too. And I think as citizens, though, you can't just take the term citizen and just say, "Oh, well, I'm in." You can't use the term citizen as an entitlement. Are we entitled to the things that are in the Constitution? Yes, but I also believe that being a citizen also has responsibility.
With freedom comes responsibility. Number one.
Right. Yes.
Number two, with citizen comes something else. When you're a subject, the government, the political system, is the monarchy, the nobles, the judges, maybe the local governors, and then you. But see, in America, in our constitutional republic, every single position is a political office. And the most important political office in the entire system is that of citizen. Your position as a citizen is also a political office. You have say in the government. You have influence in the system. And therefore you must be responsible. Absolutely. Because what happens, the consequences are based on what we do and how we apply it. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Darren asks, wouldn't those that work for the government then be subjects? That was funny.
It sure seems like it, don't it? Well, they're still citizens, but they've decided to become employees of the government. But I worked for a city at one point, and I was in the U.S. military, and I'll have to admit, during those times, I did feel like a subject.
Exactly.
That's a good question. I would say from a technical sense, no, because they still got to go home. They're still their own person. But in many ways, their work for the government could be classified that way. So
indeed, I know. When I saw that, I sensed the little bit of sarcasm in there, which clearly I can tell that I would really enjoy a conversation with Darren.
Well, it's a good observation, though, too.
It totally is. He's got a great sense of humor.
See, that's the hazard of me not getting to see the chat room per se.
I know.
I don't get to enjoy it like he does.
So Devil Dog said, "Hey, he wants to see a collaboration of knowledge on the constitutional sheriff with Doug, me, Rick Green. Don't know if I know who Rick Green is. I've heard the name David Barton, Chris Ann Hall, and Sheriff Mack."
Okay, I am friends with Sheriff Mack, Chris Ann Hall. both of them. I'm friends with them.
Yeah.
Chris Ann Hall basically is a female version of me, but
Yeah.
she's louder, firmer, and she pulls no punches whatsoever. She's pretty
Right.
damn awesome.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, she was a speaker for one of my dinners 2 or 3 years ago.
So maybe what we should do, maybe what we should try to do is get a special session together where we bring some of these people in and we have a little constitutional powwow.
Yeah. David Barton that he mentioned, he's from Wall Builders, and every industry has its superstar. In baseball, it was Babe Ruth. In technology, I hate to say it, Bill Gates. Every industry. Well, the superstar in the constitutionalist industry is David Barton.
Okay. I recognize the name. I just don't.
Yeah, Wall Builders. He's on with Glenn Beck all the time, and his Wall Builders organization. He owns the largest collection of pre-1820 American artifacts in the world, and he has them in a museum just west of Texas. David Barton. If I'm not a starstruck person. I don't go, wow, oh my gosh, you're a star to anybody, but David Barton, I do. That's the person who, man, if I wanted to just meet anybody, man, take David Barton even over Donald Trump at this point.
I'm flattered that he's even including me in this conversation. It's like, who am I? I don't know what I would bring to this, but to this conversation, I'm sure I could bring myself to the conversation.
Yeah, well, you're sharp, and I've learned from you. You've learned from me, and it's funny because you said early on to me that the number of people that you really enjoy having conversation with is a small group because they can keep up with it. I'm in the same boat. Yeah. There's very few people where I can really kind of do that with, and you and Brady definitely are in that particular realm. So I do appreciate you. You're definitely one of the sharp people. So he listed some great names there.
Yeah.
Sheriff Mack is also a friend of mine. I've known Sheriff Mack, for about 10 years now, 15 years. No, about 14, 15 years. He and I did an event a little over a year ago, about a year and a half ago.
I remember that.
It was not that long ago. When was it? 6 months
ago? No, it was recent. It was recent.
It was like
much more recent.
Last April.
I remember it was right. I think it was
right. Each other, we're in touch.
I think it was right around the time that Devil Dog, I don't know if I like that so much anymore. I thought you were elevating me. He called me the mediator. What?
No.
No, I'm giving him a hard time. I'm giving him a hard time, man. I'm totally giving him a hard time.
You would be what's his name on
I'm not offended.
On Jeopardy. What was his name?
Alex Trebek.
Yeah, you'd be the Alex Trebek.
I'd be the show. I'd be the star of the show.
No, and Chris Ann Hall and David Barton, those two. Chris Ann Hall stunned me because we know about the same amount of stuff, but she has a great way of presenting it. But when I had her out for my event, I spoke first and I addressed the Commerce Clause. I had her at my table. When I sat down, she says, you know what? I thought I was the only constitutionalist out there who was talking about the Commerce Clause that way. It's nice to know there's somebody else. It stunned me though, because it's like, really? Because she sees a lot more people than I do. She's bigger than I am. And I'm like, really? You've not come across anybody that talks about it that way? She's like, no. I was the first person other than her that talks about the Commerce Clause the way I do. And she was stunned that finally there's somebody out there. And I was stunned that was so the truth. But she's definitely a rock star when it comes to constitutionalism. So that's a good list. Absolutely a good list, Devil Dog, of people should be getting together. I would probably add Steve Jackson, who teaches Constitution classes in LA County and North Orange County. You wouldn't know him, but he's friend.
Why don't we try to hook something like that up, even if it's like a once a month or what, a little powwow?
Well, I tell you what,
that's a great idea.
Steve Jackson and I did do something together one time because it was over the Article 5 convention. He's a member of the John Birch Society, so he is against it. And so in Temecula, the Riverside, the Temecula, Myriad Temecula Republican Assembly at a meeting had myself, George Rombach, who's a treasurer of my nonprofit, Steve Jackson, and one other person do a basically a debate, more like a panel discussion on the Article 5 convention. And I can't remember who moderated it, but it was, 2 for, 2 against, and we had the discussion. People asked questions. We both sides give their responses. It was a fantastic event. I could see us doing something like that.
That'd be kind of, I'd like that. That'd be kind of fun, actually. Tagging on to the thing about citizenship and responsibility of citizenship, and one of the things, to bring it home about what we're doing today with the Constitution, one of the things that's the most critical thing that we have to know as citizens of this country is the Constitution. Mm-hmm. We have to know this stuff. This is like, it's not a religious thing. The foundation of our country is based on the Constitution. And I mean, as citizens of the United States, we should know this stuff. And somebody said in here that they appreciated that we don't charge for this information. So
no, that's next week. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Now, I actually, what I am going to be doing, just because I can't do everything for free, is I have decided I've been working to set up a store on my site, and I've been looking at different platforms, and I've talked to you in the past about it and all that. Yeah. And one of the things I've decided to do once I get this store up and going is I am going to create a series of videos where I go through the whole Constitution. And there'll be classes like this, but it'll be just me, and it won't be.
It'll be concise.
It won't be as fun. It'll be a little drier, but
it'll be concise.
Just the information, and I'm going to charge like $1 a video, just because I've got to fund what I do. But that said, to answer that, I'm glad you don't charge for this. If I could afford it, I would do it all for free, because this country's worth it. It's my ministry.
Absolutely. Well,
the only reason why I charge like $10 a head at some of my classes and stuff like that is because I got to drive out there and stuff like that. It costs me money, and I have to recoup some of it. I spend $350 a week on radio airtime alone, and I've lost all my advertisers. So right now, that's coming out of my pocket. Matter of fact, I was just telling my class this morning, the KMET show, the contract is up the end of December. And for the first time in about a year and a half, I'm short. So I
thought you would. I thought you were going to let that go. I didn't realize. That,
I'm wrestling with it. I want to, but I don't want to. The K Praise show I'm going to hang on to for sure. K Praise show has a much bigger audience. Cost me a tad more per hour, but it's less overall. It's a 1 hour show. It's half as long. That show I've got about roughly 30,000 listeners. The one at KMET, the guess is between 5 and 10,000. But I'd like to keep it on the air if I can, but I can't afford to do it out of my own pocket anymore. I need to get advertisers. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a local business owner on my reason why I was in Temecula, because I was talking to you about how I was in Temecula. It's because I was talking to a business owner about possibly advertising. Anyway. But all of that costs money. So there are costs that I put out there, like cost my books or whatever. But for the most part, I try to keep it at no cost or low cost, simply because I don't think whether or not someone should learn the Constitution should depend on what they have in their pocket. This is too important. You need to hear this. And I've got all kinds of marketing friends who want to help me. And they're like, Doug, you give away too much for free.
Well, I agree with that too, but to your point, you can't do it for free.
Well, I can't, but I try to do as much as I can. Now, that said, you guys want to buy books, you guys want to donate, go to my account, douglasvgibbs.com or something. It helps. Matter of fact, this audience, when I was doing it with Scott McKay and he and I together, for the first 2 or 3 months, I mean, they really sent a lot of funding my way and bought a lot of books. It really helped me get through a time period, because I was trying to make a comeback from getting crushed by
what are you trying to say? I don't have the same pull as Scott McKay.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, you just don't have.
I totally know the answer to that question. Okay.
See, now if you can hold up your arm and have the guns he has, you might be able to pull it off.
I'm the guy behind the scenes, man, and I'm okay with that.
No, it's well, Scott's busy. I'd like to get back on the Scott show a few times so do some stuff with him. But I also love doing this. But thank you for the appreciation of us doing this at no cost. Now, when it comes to the Constitution itself as a document, understand something. The original plan was not to write a Constitution. They thought they had it covered. Articles of Association in 1774 was the first time the colonies all came together in one. That's our first founding document. They signed the 1774 Articles of Association to collectively boycott all British goods. They refused to buy British goods because of the taxes. Then in 1776, Declaration of Independence. Then the Articles of Confederation, in 1777, ratified 1781. They were done. They didn't need anything else. They did not plan on the Constitution. Shays' Rebellion came along, and it made them realize while they are doing okay as a union, there's a lot of things missing. See, the problem is when you come together as a union, well, let's do it this way. So, Ron, let's say you and I and Brady and about 5 other people, we decide, you know what? We're going to create this think tank. And we're all going to have just equal opinion or equal opportunity to give our opinion, but nothing gets done unless all of us agree. Will anything ever get done if it requires all of us agreeing?
Never.
That's what was going on with the Articles of Confederation. It required unanimous agreement. And on top of that, the states held all the power and there was nothing for the central system. But you're a country now. You need to be able to entertain the leaders of other countries. You need to discuss trade, have a unit or somebody that's discussing trade, negotiating trade with these countries without, a lean towards their state. We need to have a collective military force for the common defense. Oh, each state had their own force called the militia, not only for defending against other enemies, but from each other. They had militias also to defend themselves from each other because they didn't totally trust each other on some things.
We have the Navy for that.
Well, I tell people, well, you don't need the other services. All you need is the Navy.
Exactly. That was a little dig at Devil Dog.
Yeah. Well,
that was a little dig at Devil Dog.
The Navy's got the best special forces, the Navy SEALs. We blast everything from the sea, and then the Marines are the invasion forces, which fall under the Department of the Navy.
That's right.
So when I pick on our Army,
not the men's department, okay?
I tease the Army guys. Say, well, you guys are good for, I don't know, occupying. You're the occupation force, And then if you mess things up, don't worry. We'll see.
I always, where I always get them is I said, when they do the NDAA at the, every 2 years, I said, that's not for the Navy. The Navy doesn't have to be reauthorized ever.
That's right.
The Navy is the only military branch that doesn't need to be reauthorized. It's
Article 1, Section 8.
Yeah.
It says, Army, you need to ask for money every 2 years. Navy, you exist. Period.
Right. But and Devil, just so that you're brought in on this, because your Department of the Navy, you don't have to be. The Marines don't have to be reauthorized either. They're part of the Navy.
Yeah.
They're naval infantry. So
I have a friend of mine
which actually, this will answer the question. That's why the Marines are with the Department of State and guarding the embassies. Marines guard the embassies because they don't have to be reauthorized every. They are when the embassies are foreign countries, basically a foreign country. So they put the Marines there. They don't have to be reauthorized every 2 years.
That's a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend of mine got the Marine Corps, and he got his first paycheck. It said Department of the Navy, and he thought that was a mistake. He's like, "What happened? I thought I joined the Marines." All right, but anyway, let's continue. So we've got this situation where they're realizing, you know what? We don't have the government we need. We have a government, but it's not complete. It's incomplete. We need to complete it. It need more, because while, see, our problem is, and I'm speaking from the founder's point of view, our problem is we're scared to death of tyranny. We just fought a war against big government. We don't want big government, but we can't go the opposite extreme, because then we will never survive. As a union, we need something that helps us operate as a country. We need a central system that helps us operate as a country, that handles the things that the states really can't do, because it requires a central entity to do it, like negotiating treaties or things like that. That, you know, the big country stuff that a central government of a country would do. You know, when you send your ambassadors, you know, over to other countries, you send one ambassador per state. No, you have a country, so you need an ambassador that represents that government. So we need to create that government. And so they did. And so they got together in August of 1786, while the Shays Rebellion was going. Shays Rebellion, what was happening is the American Revolution veterans were kind of upset, because the money that they had gotten paid by the central government under the Articles of Confederation, the Continental Congress, was worthless. Nobody would take their money. None of the creditors, none of the stores. It was worthless money that they just printed out of thin air anyway. Thought we'd have learned it by now. And the creditors are like, hey, we're not going to take that garbage. Give us gold, give us silver, or give us continentals. We're not going to take that. It's junk. And so the American Revolution veterans rebelled, and they protested, and they marched in the streets. Of course, they had rifles over their shoulders, and they knew how to use them. So, you know, things got tense.
Mm-hmm.
And so the creditors said, all right, that's fine. You don't want to pay your bills? You want to protest? No problem. We'll take you to court. So what did the protesters do? They started blocking the steps of the courthouses so that the creditors couldn't get into the courthouses to sue them. It was getting pretty nasty, and they were afraid people were going to die, that there was going to be an armed confrontation. And it was because, and so they go to the Continental Congress, say, hey, Continental Congress, help us out here. The states are, they can say, we got this problem. Continental Congress says, well, we can't tax. We can't form an army. What do you want us to do? We can't do anything. Why don't you send your militia? States are like, that's who's rebelling, our militias. That's the problem. What do we do? There was nothing that could be done. There was no central system to say, hey, don't worry, we'll take care of this. It didn't exist. So they knew they needed to have some type of central system to ensure domestic tranquility.
Was Alexander Hamilton whispering in their ear?
He was actually the one who came up with the idea. So they get together.
Problem, reaction, solution.
Yeah, well, we'll go there. So in August of 1786, a bunch of the diplomats from the different states got together, well, a handful of the states, and they talked about it. And Alexander Hamilton said, well, your problem is you don't have a bigger government. Now, in his mind, I think, he was like, what we really need is a monarchy, but he didn't say it out loud. He says, hey, what we need is a central system. I understand the fears, but we can't have none. We got to have something. But it was originally Alexander Hamilton that recommended they write a new constitution. The arguments were, no, we can't do that. The states would never approve of it. How about we try to fix the Articles of Confederation? And out of all of those debates, what they decided is they would hold the convention in May of 1787 to try to fix the articles, but if it was not able to be fixed, they would write a new constitution. So both things were on the table. A lot of the delegates that were going thought, yeah, we'll probably just fix the articles. And a bunch of others thought, you know what, there's no fixing them. We're going to be writing a new constitution. All of the states by January of 1787, remember this original convention, the Annapolis Convention was in 1786, August. By January of 1787, all of the states had agreed that they would be in Philadelphia in May.
I'm not sure what happened, but
for this convention.
Doug, something just happened to your audio. It went in and out, and it's like it. I don't know if you came on.
No,
on
I
both.
didn't.
Okay, that's a
Can
little
you hear me
better.
okay?
Yeah, I think there was a loose connection. Something happened, but it's okay.
Well,
All good
okay.
now.
But anyway, well, I turned off, all my internet stuff so that I don't have any interruptions here. But stuff
No, it
happens.
was definitely something with the with the connection, but it's gone. Moving
Okay.
forward.
Okay. And so in January of 1787, all of the states had said, okay, we'll do this. We'll send delegates to this convention with the understanding that either we're going to fix the articles or we're going to write a new constitution. Having heard that, James Madison in January began drawing up the framework of the convention and the framework of the documentation they would be using. Hence the reason why he is the father of the Constitution. That's his nickname. People call James because he came up with the framework ahead of time. When he showed it, man, he was already, by May, he was ready to roll. He'd been working on it since January.
So don't tell me, I don't mean to be insulting in any way, but don't tell me this was very similar to a Patriot Act type situation where they had the Patriot Act ready to go. They just needed an event to happen. So
no. They hadn't discussed what would go into it, but the framework in the sense really in the first part, we should talk about legislature. Next part should be about an executive branch. There should be 3 branches, that kind of thing.
Okay.
The details hadn't gone in, but the basic framework, also the basic framework and rules of the convention. No office holders are allowed in the convention was one of the rules. You'll notice that at the time of the convention, none of the attendees were current office holders, or at least they weren't supposed to be. But the rules of the convention on how they would conduct it, way they would set things up, who would be secretary, all of that was thought of ahead of time, is what I mean.
Now, I have a question for you. The appointments of like secretaries and a cabinet meeting or cabinet, that was not something that was in the Constitution, and that was extra constitutional right from the outset, was it not?
It is in the Constitution, but it's not laid out in specific terms. In other words, the Constitution does talk about officers of the departments, the department heads, things like that. But it doesn't go into, break it down. So there's going to be a chief of staff. There's going to be this.
No. Okay,
specifically, that's something that developed as we went along.
I'm specifically talking about like Secretary of State, Secretary of War, Secretary of
State was that's the department head of the State Department. That was the first department created.
Okay, so but was that created that wasn't created in the Constitution?
No.
But they
knew the government would have departments
because
in Article trying to remember the article now. I want to say Article 3, but that's not right. I think it's in Article 2. Article 2, it talks about, matter of fact, it is Article 2. It's right under where it talks about being commander in chief. It talks about how the president can talk to the different department officers or heads of departments whenever he needs help, discussing some things, but when they respond, it needs to be in writing. That's what it says in Article 2. So they knew there would be departments. They just hadn't established them yet. But it was established once the government was up and running. First one was State Department. Second one was the Treasury Department. Third one was the War Department. And the fourth one was the Justice Department. I think that's the order. And those are the first 4. And we only had 4 departments. As time passed, other departments were added. Matter of fact, on a little side note, you've heard of the line of succession, right? President,
yes.
Vice President, Speaker of the House. Well, once it gets to the department heads, the order is the order of the creation of the department. That's why Secretary of State's at the top of the list, so on and so forth.
Really?
Yes. But all the Secretary of State is the State Department head.
I knew that. I know that. I didn't know that the order of succession was based on the department's creation date.
Yeah, so if the department so if the head of the Department of Homeland Security thinks that they have a chance for president, well, might be waiting a while, buddy. So a lot of people got to die before you.
Well,
But
wouldn't Homeland Security be?
near the bottom, it's one of the most recently created.
I understand that, but is the I guess I'm tripping because those are some of those departments aren't or some of those departments don't fall within like the reorganization of the government. So the Department of Justice is the Department of Justice under the Department of Homeland Security.
No,
Okay.
Department of Justice is one of the original departments.
Okay.
They work with the Department of Homeland Security. They are not under it.
Okay. So like what would FBI be in?
The Federal Bureau of Investigation is not a department.
I understand that.
Agency, and the agency, I believe, falls under. I don't remember what department they fall under.
Because I remember when they reorganized the government, and I haven't asked this question ever because it's just not something that I give it really too much thought. But if the FBI is under the Department of Justice, when they reorganized the entire government after 9/11, when they brought in the Department of Homeland Security, my understanding was that the Department of Justice came under the Department of Homeland Security because that's all part of Homeland Security.
No, Department of Homeland Security is an additional department, and they work together. They don't answer to. Now or at least that's the way it's supposed to be. So they ever follow what they're supposed to do.
So then would FBI be under Department of Homeland Security?
FBI is an agency like Border Patrol.
I understand that. I completely understand that.
So you got departments, then under departments you have agencies. I don't know what agency they fall under off the top of my head. I'm sure there are people in the chat room right now looking it up.
Yes, I'm sure there are.
But I don't know what department they fall under off the top of my head.
Okay.
I would say probably Intelligence Department.
There is no Intelligence Department.
Isn't there a Department of Intelligence?
No, I'm not familiar with the Department of Intelligence. I know that there's DNI, is there a Department of Intelligence?
I thought there was.
The Director of National Intelligence. I know there's Director of National Intelligence. I don't know if there's a. I think the only department. Okay. Now you got me curious. Okay, Department of U.S. government, branches of the U.S. government. Now I'm curious. Legislative, executive. Okay, that's I don't want the branch. An index of departments and agencies. Agencies are under departments, correct?
Right. That's what I told you.
So there's defense. Okay, here it is. So there's the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Commerce, the Department of Defense, Department of Education, Department of Energy, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Homeland Security, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of Justice, Department of Labor, Department of State, Department of the Interior, Department of Treasury, Department of Transportation, and Department of Veteran Affairs. So 1, 2, 3,
that's
4,
not all
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. Those are the 15 departments that are listed under.
There's more than 15. I've seen those before.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys out there wanna help us resolve this? Send links in the chat. Because I think this you don't have you have directors. Like I think are you thinking about like when the president has a cabinet meeting and then people come in?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about department heads.
Okay. The NSA is an agency.
Right.
Carmen, the NSA is an agency. So at the end, the last letter of A in NSA is agency, national security, or no. Yeah, national security. Is it the agency? NSA is the agency or administration? That's a good question. I think NSA was National Security Agency. Okay, so I'm on Wikipedia, and Wikipedia has these are the departments: State, Treasury, Defense, Justice, Interior, Agriculture, Commerce, Labor, HHS, HUD, Transportation, Energy, Education, VA, and Homeland Security. That's it. Former departments: War, Post Office, Navy, Army, Air Force.
Well, Department of the Navy, really? They got rid of it?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Huh.
I mean, so the
Well, the
department.
Department of War just changed its name to the Department of Defense. That's all it did.
Well, yeah. So you had the Department of War along with the Department of Navy and the Department of Army and Department of Air Force. But what happened is that when they brought in the Department of Defense, that brought all the military branches under defense. And then because this happened.
The department. What happened? Well, yes and no.
Because the Department of Defense was created in.
Well, they purposely, though, later on, when they created the Department of Navy, they purposely separated from the Department of Defense because the Navy had more to do with just defense. That's the reason why originally it was a separate department. The fact that they brought it under the Department of Defense or Department of War, if you want to go back to the original name, actually, I disagree with them doing that.
Well, the Department of Navy was formed in April 30th, 1798, and it was removed from the cabinet on August 10th, 1949, the same time the Army and the Air Force were removed. Now, the Army and the Air Force were removed. The Army and the Air Force, the departments of the Army and the Air Force were created on September 18th of 1947, which is the same date that the Department of Defense was formed. But it looks to me like what they did was they made Navy, Army, and Air Force they wrapped them up and then put them under the Department of Defense in 1949. That's what I look at here.
So you've got let's see, State Department, Department of Treasury, Defense, Justice, Interior, Agriculture, Commerce, Labor, Health and Human Services, Housing and Urban Development, Secretary, the Transportation, Energy, Education, Veterans Affairs, Homeland Security. So I have 18. Is
that what I said?
I thought you said 15, but yeah, I found at USA.gov pretty good. Because I wanted them in list of succession and creation. That's what I was looking for.
Okay, so are you including the Post Office, War, and Navy in there? Because if I include
they're not listed as being departments today. So once again, State, Treasury, Defense, Attorney General, which is Justice, Interior, Agriculture, Commerce, Labor, Health and Human Services, Housing and Urban Development, HUD, Transportation, Energy, Education, Veterans Affairs, and Homeland Security.
Okay, and that's 15.
That's 18. Oh, it is 15. You're right. I'm counting in line of succession. I'm counting president and vice president. So that's actually 16.
Well, 15 because you're Speaker of the House is third.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
Guys, Doug is very good at the Constitution, but he's not very good at math.
You know what? That's funny because one time when I was laying out houses in construction, I missed. You're supposed to put a ribbon on every fifth dowel in the ground, and somehow I messed it up. And at Christmas, to make fun of me because I apparently didn't know how to count, they gave me one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. Dr. Seuss book for Christmas. So yes, I can't count. But so be it. All right.
It's all good.
Well, let's get back on target because we're way off what we want to talk about. And it's past 4 o'clock.
Yeah, as I say, it's about 10 minutes after. If you are now, Devil Dog says most are unconstitutional. And yes. I'm assuming that he's talking about the departments.
Yes, most of them are.
Okay. And how would you what would you use to discern whether or not it's constitutional or not?
Well, it comes down to whether or not the federal government has authority over that issue. Okay, let me go back to now I took down the list. Now I go back to it. Federal departments.
Here, I'll
All right,
send.
so I can go through them real quick. Boom. Okay, so State Department is constitutional. It handles basically so many civil things, so many foreign affairs, things like that. Treasury is fine. Defense, I'd rather go back to its original name, the Department of War, but that's just me. Justice is fine when it comes to taking cases that the federal government's authorized to take. The problem is not that whether or not the department is constitutionally authorized, it's that they take a lot of cases or get involved in things that they shouldn't.
Let me pause you for a second. You're not the only one that wants to go back to Department of War. I was listening. I listened to an interview of L. Fletcher Prouty, and he said that when they created the Department of Defense in 1947, he said it pissed a lot of people off. They did not like it under the Department of Defense. They wanted the Department of War. They said that the because Department of War made it so that it was just the aura of the department was that to go in there and win and get it over with. And defense made you put it like you were back on your heels at all times.
Exactly. Well, it's like I tell people, if you play heavy defense on chess, it may take a long time, but you will lose. There's got to be an offensive strategy.
Right.
All right. Interior, unconstitutional. Yep. Agriculture, unconstitutional. Commerce. It's the idea of the federal government being involved in commerce is constitutional. However, the Department of Commerce and how they do it is unconstitutional. The only time a Department of Commerce should be involved in interstate commerce is if there is a discrepancy or a disagreement between the states or between agencies or corporations of different states. As long as the commerce is flowing, it's none of the federal government's business. However, the Department of Commerce also handles foreign commerce. So that's why I say the Department of Commerce is constitutional, but a lot of what they do is not. Department of Labor is unconstitutional. Health and Human Services is unconstitutional. Housing and Urban Development unconstitutional. Transportation is unconstitutional. Energy unconstitutional. Education unconstitutional. Veterans Affairs is fine. Homeland Security, the idea is fine, but what it does is not.
Right, I agree. Well, just the fact that it was a reorganization of the government to in the eyes of the neoconservatives, that alone makes me skeptical of it and wary of it.
Yeah. As for the former departments, Department of the Post Office was essentially constitutional, but it should have been for establishing postal, not for maintaining it. Maintaining postal was really up to the states. As for the and I think that each branch of service should have its own separate department, even though there is a Department of War. I think that also there should be a department of each military service, and they work with the Department of War, not as underlings under the Department of War.
So basically, you want to go back to the organization of the government pre-1947.
Pretty much, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And a matter of fact, all the list of formers, I don't mind the post office being a former, really, be honest with you. But really, postal service is supposed to be up to the states. It says in the Constitution that it's up to the federal government to create or establish postal service, not to maintain it. So to establish post offices and postal routes, federal government does because they have an overall view of things. But once it's established, the maintenance is supposed to be, and the running of the office is supposed to be by the states.
What a shock. I didn't realize this, that the Department of Labor was created in 1913. Huh. Go figure.
What a coinkydink.
What a coinkydink.
Yeah, and the Department of Labor is based on communistic
100%
foundation.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Federal Reserve Act, 1913.
Well, Department of Labor, though, really it was a result of all of the labor movement, which created the labor unions. And the whole idea is power to the workers. What does that sound like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Proletariat versus the bourgeoisie. Because remember, Karl Marx taught that systems are in constant conflict, and that the primary conflict is between the owners and the workers. And that was basically, the Department of Labor was created out of that basic idea.
Mhm. Let's kill it there for today. It's 4:15. Unless you want to,
and we didn't talk about a lot of stuff I want to. That's okay. This was good. I enjoyed the conversation, and I hopefully people learned things.
well, I mean,
I'll finish up my introduction next week, and we'll talk about the preamble.
perfect. Perfecto.
And it's always a pleasure working with you, sir. You do know you are one of my favorite people in the world. You know why? Because
You're so kind. Thank you.
no, seriously, because folks, Ron, we talked about this actually while I was in the car. Ron is a patriot, a Patriot. He is all about the cause. Unlike, other patriots, Paytriots.
Yeah.
Just saying. People are out there kind of in it for themselves too. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with making money and doing well and providing a service, getting paid for it. But when that's your primary, when it comes to this and that's your primary reason, there's a problem. And
Well, thank you.
When it comes to Ron, he not only that's the last thing on his mind, because he's all about the cause, but he's been a support for so many different people, including me and Scott McKay. And we're just two of many that he has supported and helped and been there for. And so, you should be blushing, because I'm talking all about you. You're awesome. I do appreciate you.
I appreciate that. To me, it's, I try to do what I can to connect people and make it a good situation for everyone. It's been a joy and a privilege. I was born for this moment in time, man.
You're born at the right time, huh?
I was born for this moment in time.
All right, very good.
So,
well, Sailor, appreciate it. Devil Dog, all of you guys out there, especially you vets, but really all of you equally, appreciate all of you, because we're all equal in the eyes of God. We all have the same natural rights, and that was the purpose of what Jefferson wrote. All men are created equal, and we will be equally happy to see you next week at 3:00 Pacific.
excellent. We'll see you guys next week.